All right. Oh, that is quite the microphone. Okay. Hi, folks. Thank you so much for being here. We will get started. I know people are still trickling in as they made their way from the plenary room, which feels like miles away from this one, but glad you found us, and we're in for a great session this afternoon. My name is Chloe Halpenny. I use she, they pronouns, and I'm a member of the board of directors for the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness, and am very excited to welcome you to this session, which is titled Building Community Through Lived Experience. We've got two great presentations today from folks with Ottawa City Inner Health, as well as Ridge Meadows Ministries, to talk a bit more about their experience doing peer-led programming and peer support in their communities. To start us off, reminder that we're gathered here today in Tiohtià:ke or Montreal. The Kanien'kehá:ka Nation is recognized as the custodians of the lands and waters on which we gather today, and Tiohtià:ke has historically been a gathering place for many First Nations and Indigenous peoples. I am personally coming to you today from land colonially known as Ottawa, which is the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation, and am extremely grateful to be joined by folks from across Turtle Island and to be welcomed to Montreal by our wonderful hosts. We do have a simultaneous interpretation for this session, so if you would prefer to be listening in French and don't have a headset, please go grab one. If you do have a headset, you should be able to use that. And I think without further ado, we'll get started. We've got two presentations, 30 minutes each, and we'll do Q&A at the end together. And to start us off, we'll invite Rayanne and Samantha from Ottawa City Inner City Health. I think I've said that wrong probably a couple of times now, but you're going to correct us and tell us what you folks have been up to. Please welcome them to the stage.
Good luck. All right. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Warm welcome. So, as it's been mentioned, my name is Samantha Sam, and this is...
My name is Rayanne.
So, as it's been mentioned, we are here to discuss the power of peer-led programs and how they can strengthen communities from the inside out. Hence, community building community. Sorry, I'm just going to fix that out. So through programs like the Block Leaders, of which we'll discuss, as well as programs like the Life Process Program, we also have brochures right there. And we will discuss that throughout this. We have seen community members with lived experience step into roles that strengthen safety, resolve conflict, and close gaps that the system often leaves behind.
It's not always neat, and that's the point with peer work. Peer work is real, it's rooted in lived wisdom, and it's deeply innovative. It turns service users into leaders, coaches, and problem solvers, building purpose, skills, and a stronger community along the way.
Today we'll share how this work happens on the ground, the barriers, the breakthroughs, and how this concept can be improved and expanded upon, and by service providers. So as you can see, we work through Ottawa Inner City Health. I am a case manager, as well as we mentioned, the program, the Block Leaders. I'm one of the supervisors, and I help develop the program. So Ottawa Inner City Health is an organization that started in 2001. It provided healthcare to the homeless with complex needs in Ottawa, created in collaboration with partnering agencies with a focus on physical, mental, and substance youth health. Our fundamental belief is that our clients deserve the same level of care as well as all Canadians, but unfortunately, it cannot be met by the systems in place. Our primary focus is on the individual, supporting autonomy, inclusion of the client's voice, and lived experience.
Sorry, guys, I'm standing real close, so I'm probably really loud. Let me take a step back. Is this good for everyone? Yeah, you can hear me? Perfect. So does everyone know what a peer is? There's no hands up. Hands up if you know what a peer is. Yeah? Okay, there we go, guys. A little enthusiasm. So peers are those who have similar life experiences or circumstances to yours. They've engaged in special training and skill development to enhance their ability to support you in living the life that you want. And at Ottawa Inner City Health in 2001, in the very beginning, due to a lack of proper staffing, clients would be supporting other clients in a multitude of ways. Things like accompaniment to appointments, cleaning, working in the managed alcohol programs that we have, and much, much more. This would be the framework of what peer work looks like within our organization. So in 2013, we went from having informal peers, like I just described, to having intentional peers. And what an intentional peer worker is a peer that, like I said, is trained, unique to the role, and someone that's identified as a part of a core service. Whereas an informal peer, like I said, is just helping and volunteering in any way you can with someone who has a similar lived experience as you. So the first program that we hired intentional peer workers in was our targeted diversion program. And since piloting this, we've led peers to train to work in our residences, our supervised consumption site, which was where we do our case management, and coaching groups such as the Life Process program, which we're gonna talk a bit about today, and then out on the block and in the community as our block leaders, another program that we're gonna discuss today.
Let's see if the clicker works this time. Oh, perfect. All right. So you heard words as blocks. So if you're ever in Ottawa, you'll see the Shepherds of Good Hope, which is a shelter down there. And around the circumference of that is called the block. So if you hear us use the word block, that is what we're referring to. So those who have lived and spent time at the Shepherds of Good Hope were consulted on how to improve the conditions around there. So what we're talking about is those conditions is that it was noticed that it was the centralized part of where all the crime was being committed, a lot of the violence was happening, a lot of the overdoses were happening. So it was decided that instead of trying to figure it out as an organization, that we would involve those who are partaking in those behaviors on gathering their ideas and opinions on how they can be part of the solutions themselves. So we had a meeting called a community meeting, and it was kind of trying to gather all these ideas. And one of the ideas that came out of it was called the block leaders. So with a partnership with the Sheps, the Shepherds of Good Hope, using their space and their grounds, we developed the block leaders. So they themselves, these community members, these are people who are homeless, these are people who use substances, people with mental illnesses. They are being trained, they developed the trainings. I, myself, and two other supervisors, we would be behind the scenes developing the trainings with them. It is a volunteer position with an honorarium of $15 an hour. So they are put out there to work around the community, check on their own community members, make sure they're doing okay, make sure they're not having any overdoses, and it has been expanded out. So we're going a little bit behind. So these are our block leaders. Our community knows them as the red vests, with their beautiful little red vests. So the impact started because of COVID, the fentanyl drug crisis, as well as the Truckers' Convoy Convention. So how it works. So every 2 weeks we have a bi-weekly meeting where we talk about what's going on in the community. We see things like how can we improve on our communication with our neighbors? That's been a big one. How can we compassionately communicate with each other? If you're talking to somebody who's upset, somebody who's going through a crisis, somebody who is trauma dumping, and you yourself are dealing with those same issues. How do we have boundaries when we work, when we live and work in the same location? So they ask for trainings, we find the trainings and deliver those trainings. And those bi-weekly meetings, we get about approximately 30 to 50 people attending. So what started off with about a handful of block leaders 2 years ago, we now have over 200 trained. So that's our evolution, what we just talked about. So the greatest thing about this, if you've ever been in Ottawa, you've probably heard of the Byward Markets. So it started off around the block. Now the Byward Market had heard about us, and they actually hired on our block leaders to work to help support their businesses. So they go out at 7 to 10 in the morning. We have our TELUS van to help give coffee to the community out there. So one of their primary jobs out in the community is to go up to businesses where people may be sleeping and to ask them to please leave that property. We have a coffee for you, we have a snack for you. And instead of having somebody like the police show up or security show up or bylaw services who will remove their property and throw them out, you have part of your own community show up with a red vest and gently wake you up. And so it's been a huge success. We have now in talks about expanding that service from 7 to 7. And then we're maybe even into later evenings or later hours into the evenings. So we're seeing successes into other cities that are wanting to use our program. Niagara has picked it up as well. So like everything, there is barriers. This has not gone as smoothly as we always hoped for. We are dealing with folks who have complex needs. I myself have come from lived experience, and so I can kind of relate to and understand what those complex needs are. At the very beginning, it was chaos. We had no structure to this. It was kind of grab a bunch of community members, figure out a game plan. We had no schedule. You want to work? Great. Throw you out on the street. Here's a broom and dustpan. Go say hi to people. Make sure they're not overdosing. Here's some Narcan. And then now it is, we have a set schedule. We have guidelines, rules, which is great. And I didn't come up with them. They themselves came up with the rules, and they turned out to be the most harshest critics for themselves. So they have guidelines of suspensions. If you are rude to each other, you can get up to 3-week suspension. If you're rude to me, you will get a 1-day suspension. So they still have their priorities in place. So glad with that. Stealing is a huge thing because they deal with that day to day. That can be a 1-month suspension. So they came from a place where there was no guidelines to now they have a lot of guidelines in place, very structured. We also talked about the boundaries. So we are still working on that. Boundaries when they're not working, when they are working, they're not always providing support to people. And we have to reiterate that a lot, especially when they live in a shelter and they display behaviors that are not liked at the shelter. They can get consequences at the shelter, and we have to abide by that. We're still guests at the shelter, so if they are timed out from that shelter, they are timed out from the program as well. But to say the least, we have some data. So this is just in 1 year. The good things I'd like to talk about this, I kind of summed it up a little bit for our data. So in March of 2024 to March of 2025, a lot of things I like to talk about is engagement. So we are a community engagement program. We are not a cleaning program. So if you think about our community, one of the things they deal with a lot is a lack of engagement. They feel isolated, they feel invisible, and so we try to encourage them to engage with people on a positive note. And so here we have 71,151 people that they positively engaged with, and that includes our neighbors, businesses, tourists, and as well as their own community. And so if you talk about a community whose history with the police is usually not that positive, we have here 1,121 positive and helpful engagements. So the police actually look for block leaders' assistance in a lot of things. They help with first aid, overdoses, and post-overdose help. And they also feel more comfortable calling the police themselves now. And then one of the biggest impacts the block leaders have in the byward is we are an on-call service. So the team leaders, those are hired on block leaders. They are actually Ottawa Inner City Health staff now. They have a phone directly connected to businesses, so the business can call them for support. And instead of calling the police or security, like if there's a theft going on, which is usually a security call, they will call them. And for minor disturbances, so they'll call these team leaders and block leaders, and that has been about 1,750 phone calls. So they have averted police and emergency services. So I talked a lot about the block leader program. We're going to talk about next, Ray's going to talk about next about our life process program.
Can we switch? Yeah. Okay. So, I actually started with Ottawa Inner City Health about 6 or 7 months ago, and I've worked with other peer organizations where from the top to the bottom, whether that's the director or the person who does financial administration or your peer support worker in the community and in the hospital, everyone has lived experience. And when I started with Ottawa Inner City Health and I started learning about the Block Leader program, it is truly one of the most innovative ways to make people who live on the block and are in our community make them feel seen and heard and respected and a part of a solution to what a lot of people perceive as a problem. But I'm going to talk about the Life Process program. So the Life Process program is a peer-led program that we piloted in the winter of 2024 at Ottawa Inner City Health. It's an evidence-based, non-12-step recovery program that encourages our peers to take stock of their own skills, their strengths, their values, and their intrinsic motivations. So we have a unique position of working out of a supervised consumption site. So a lot of our peers who are participating in this program are part of the substance using community, but we are lucky enough to also be working out of the Shepherds of Good Hope. And so a lot of our peers who participate are also people who are just experiencing homelessness, who are not part of the drug using community. And what I love about the Life Process program is it just allows people to take a look at where they are. It could be me, it could be you, and we would all get something out of this program. So at Ottawa Inner City Health, we've trained peers to take on a coaching role with each participant in LPP. That is our abbreviated form. Coaches are intended to act as a supportive guide as opposed to the traditional sponsor role that you see in AA or 12-step. Coaches also provide accountability, motivation, and encouragement, helping participants stay engaged with the program while respecting their autonomy. The relationship is built on partnership and empowerment, making the coach a trusted ally in creating lasting change. And that's why it is so important that it is a peer-led program. So we actually introduced a group format this spring at some of our residences and through our case management team, Sam and I, and our partnering agency, Rita Wood Counseling. So through the peer support received in this group, clients can find community members on a similar journey to recovery and just even to achieving some of those goals and find support. So we're going to talk a bit about barriers to LPP because with everything like Sam said, there are barriers. One of the barriers that we've identified while facilitating this program is the challenge of conducting a group with such a transient population. So in shelters and supervised consumption sites, clients often move in and out of programs as a result of unstable housing, changing priorities, or crisis situations. This does make it more difficult to maintain consistent group attendance and build continuity across group sessions. A transient population may mean that participants miss key elements of the program as they miss groups. And one of these elements is group cohesion and community building, as participants may not have time to actually develop trust with the people who consistently attend the groups. Another barrier we've identified are individual differences in support requirements, so accessibility for our participants. For us at Ottawa Inner City Health, with where we work, we found that our clients have such a diverse set of different needs and just varying levels of readiness for change, right? So some people may prefer one-on-one support, while others may require accommodations for literacy, language, mental health, or trauma. A single group model doesn't always work for everyone. And so if these differences in needs are not addressed, it doesn't make it as impactful. I have an example. So when we launched our group format, I wanted to see how we did it at different residences because we kind of work out of a fixed location. So I went to one of our housing residences, and someone in our group was illiterate. They weren't able to engage with the material. And so because we do 2 facilitators, usually for us, it's a Rita Wood counselor, an addictions and mental health counselor, and then one of us case managers. We always have 2 facilitators. So we had one facilitator tend to the needs of the group, and then one facilitator working on I'm going to take a step back. I've been told to step back. And one facilitator was working with that individual by reading aloud to them, helping them to kind of work through the materials. Is that better? I'm so sorry. Can you guys tell I don't do this often? I'm not usually by a mic, which might be a good thing for some. Thank you. Okay, so we did talk about some of the barriers, but I do really want to brag about some of the benefits of this. So if we can go to the next slide. So now that we have a deeper understanding of some of the barriers to this kind of program, we can look at some of its benefits. One of the key advantages of the Life Process program in community building is that it has the ability to create and strengthen peer networks. This program encourages participants to share experiences in a group setting, fostering trust and connection. The interactions that peers have with one another helps to build supportive relationships that can extend beyond our program and onto the block. So they can help to support each other outside in their day-to-day, and staff is not always there, us case managers, so they can help to kind of support each other through their goals in the evenings when we aren't there. Another benefit of LPP is that it encourages personal growth. By working on the modules, participant learns skills such as the following: what their strengths are, what their identity is, and how to set and achieve goals. This growth promotes healing, empowerment, and resilience on an individual level and within the community over time. So we're going to take a look at some data. We love data. It helps with the funding. You can see here that we have a baseline score, a second assessment, and the third assessment. So the baseline score is essentially our intake. When we have people coming in and wanting to participate with our program, we ask them a series of questions about where they see themselves within the community, what their goals are, how their health is, for those who use substances, what their substance use is like. Then every time they finish a module, there's 9 modules, they do another assessment. So here we have the baseline score after the first module and after the second module. What I'm going to focus on is 2 factors that speak to what we're talking to, and that is lifestyle and community. So our scoring system ranges from 0 being the absolute worst to 10 being the absolute best. The results show steady improvement over time. On average, participants reported a 1.84 point increase in lifestyle and a 1.50 point increase in community compared to their baseline scores. So what this tells us is that consistent participation, even within the first few modules of the Life Process program, not only improves how clients view their own lifestyle choices, but also strengthens their sense of belonging and connection within the community, which is really how these peer-led programs work, right?
All right, so peer program building leaders through lived experiences. So we talked about just 2 of our peer coached programs, Block Leaders and LPP. We're hoping that so far throughout these presentations, we are able to express to you the same sentiment that this slide expresses, that peers, those with lived experience, can be built into leaders.
So we view peer programming as community engagement, believing that those who may be a part of the social disorder could also be a part of the solution. Providing low barrier pre-employment opportunities which recognize their contributions and build purpose. That is the mission of any kind of program like this. So we recognize leadership qualities within those with lived experience, and we believe in developing these skills in a collaborative and strengths-based perspective. You can see this philosophy in practice with the Block Leader program by the development of the team leaders who Sam talked a bit about, who as part of the community were trained as block leaders. We recognize leadership qualities within these individuals as they were working this program, and through further training and employment development opportunities, they were interviewed and hired on as Ottawa inner city staff.
All right, so we've already discussed some of the roles that our peers take on within our organization. Just to mention some of the couple of others, we have appointment peers. Those accompany clients, obviously, to their appointments. And they set reminders. We have residential peers. So we do have residential homes that are connections with other partnering agencies, and we hire on people who live within those residents to support other people who live within those residences. And then we have our Indigenous program peers who offer spiritual guidances and healing to our Indigenous clients.
So we want to thank you guys for sticking with us up to this point. You've heard us use a lot of repeated words like peer and community, but these words hold a lot of meaning to both Sam and I and the organization that we work for. If we look at the word peer, we see definitions such as comrade, friend, and one that is of equal standing with one another. We value how those with any lived experience can support and work with our clients, our community, their community. This is how we define peer work. But just like everything, there are challenges to using words such as peer when it comes to employment. It can sometimes pigeonhole someone in their career, seeing someone first for their lived experience rather than any other skill set that they bring or education. It also discloses sometimes personal lived experience about a person as part of their title. While we try hard at Ottawa Inner City Health, hierarchies still occur in the workplace, and those who are primarily viewed as peers can sometimes feel less than or a part of. At Ottawa Inner City Health, peer workers are part of every aspect of the organization's development, and with the people that we have pushing for this, we have peers having discussions with our CEO, to the medical staff, to other frontline work, and they are able to recognize that they have as much of a seat at the table as anyone else within our organization, and we are really trying to push programs like these to help people see the value that they bring within their community.
I'm sorry, the letters did not all fit into one word. I was laughing at that when I saw that.
Peer?
Yeah, so moving on. My friend missed one important question that we would like to ask every individual. As we mentioned, that peers and people with lived experience have a seat at our table with everybody as equals. So who has a seat at your table? So let's expand. We want to challenge the status quo on how limitless the possibilities are discussing on how we can involve clients to become and progress as more than just peers. Perfect.
So peers are the building blocks that we need to use, showcasing how community can build community. Clients, those that we support and serve, are an integral part of the organization. These clients also hold valuable insight on what services and supports are helpful for them. Some hold the capacity to advocate for themselves, and others may need advocacy to be more accessible or just to have more support from us staff, right? Many have great ideas on innovative and creative ways to develop strategies on supporting their own community, and we've seen that through the block leaders, as they were the ones to develop the structure of it to this day. We saw a few OICH programs where clients support each other, and we talked about two of them. These concepts of clients becoming peers and employees can be expanded upon. Like I said, we won't deny that funding is sometimes a barrier to implementing peer-led programs, especially in the political climate that we exist in today. But we can still start planting seeds. Once watered and given some light to develop, you'd be growing not only healthier organizations and communities, but promoting advocates and leaders who can support their own well-being as well as their peers. This is the power of peer-led opportunities. This is the value of communities building community.
Not that tall. All right, so we know that peer workers are more than support. They are the core service providers, equal partners in a multidisciplinary team, and experts in lived experience. It's time to give them a seat at the table. Oh, I went back. Oh, that's what it is. A voice in decision-making and agency over their career paths. When we elevate peer workers, we strengthen our organizations, improve outcomes, and build a system that truly understands and meets the needs of the people we serve. It's diverse and sometimes messy, but so is innovation and growth. Thank you.
And the last slide just said thank you. Thank you, guys.
It's okay.
All right, just take a minute here for some tech support. Thank you very much.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you so much for that great presentation. Rayanne and Samantha, that was wonderful, and sorry that PowerPoint did you dirty on one of your slides.
I honestly think I clicked something. I may have. But we won't blame me. It's fine.
Definitely not blaming you. It's definitely the room.
Definitely in the room.
Okay, it's the room.
Yes, yeah. Excellent. All right, perfect. Next up, we've got Bethany and Jamie from Ridge Meadows Ministries. We've got a PowerPoint. It is working. Let's welcome them to the stage. Thank you so much.
Everybody's going here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bethany. I'm a case manager from Ridge Meadows Ministries, Salvation Army. And this is Jamie Dembowski. She's my supervisor, also from Salvation Army. So this is a little bit of our outline today. And I just want you to think of a time when someone's story changed the way you work, and I want you to hold that thought, and we will come back to it. This is a little bit of my life timeline. So when I was 14, I was in a relationship with somebody that was a lot older than me, started using hard drugs. It was a very abusive situation. And of course, I thought I could help him, but I got pulled into the world. The abuse was constant. I started using drugs to cope, and by 17, I was kicked out of my parents' house and using fentanyl, heroin, and crack cocaine. Crack cocaine became a big part of my reality. I stayed in unsafe homes, slept outside, bounced between shelters, and also was involved in the sex work to survive and feed my addiction. I accessed methadone clinics, addiction counseling, John Howard Society, youth counselors, social workers, all of that jazz. Life felt like pure survival. So in 2017, I made a big decision to go to treatment at Hannah House Recovery in Maple Ridge. It was the first time that I truly clean, and I managed to get 2 years in recovery. Unfortunately, my ex moved down the street from me. I had a relapse while I was working the front lines at the Maple Ridge shelter. So I was terrified. I didn't know what to do, but instead of giving up, I went to my manager and my executive director, and again, I went to treatment. I went to the Orchard on Bowen Island, and I was there for about 35 days, and then went to England to reconnect with family. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. When I returned home, I came back to work as a casual at the shelter, and then on a 6-month probation period, completing drug tests, counseling, and building trust again within my workplace. Since then, I have almost 7 years sober, and I've rebuilt my life. Thank you. I own my own home. I have a car, a wonderful partner, and 2 kitties. and my life is stable and calm. This timeline from homelessness to addiction to recovery and to growth reflects not just my story, but the journey of many people to find stability. This is a little bit of my work timeline. So I started working at the shelter at 2018, and while I was in school for doing my community support worker program. I helped with activities, events, and building relationships with clients and staff. After that summer, I transitioned into frontline shelter work. That's where I really learned what it meant to be on the front lines. I was responding to crisis and supporting people during their hardest moments. After returning from treatment, I worked casual at relief shelter when our city's encampment shut down. In 2019, I applied for a full-time position, which I did not get. So our ED at the time said that I was not professionally ready and that I needed some more growth. I will say that moment really stung because I already felt like I'd busted my butt to get to where I was. Instead of walking away, I stayed and I kept showing up. I did casual shifts and I focused on learning and growing professionally. During COVID, I was hired in our physical distancing shelter, and that's when I really started to grow. I was mentoring new staff, I was navigating other systems, and liaising with our management team and caseworkers and also outside agencies, as many of them were working from home at the time. I became one of the most consistent faces for staff and for clients, and it was a big period of growth for me. Today, I'm a part of an incredible team that not only advocates for clients, but also works to create real change. It's been a journey, surviving to serving, learning to leading, and through it all, I've learned that growth does not happen overnight. It happens through trust, mentorship, and believing that your past can become your purpose. So, I want you to think, when you hear the words lived experience leadership, what are the first words that come to mind? There is some sticky notes in the front, so if you would like, please write the words that come to mind on those sticky notes and then hold your hand up. I'm sorry if you didn't get any. I honestly thought there would be one person in here. So please raise your hand after you're done writing your word, and Jamie will come and collect them, and then, yeah.
If anyone wants to raise their hand up.
Oh, thank you. So, yeah, just really take a second and think about it, and then we'll start again. So thank you for sharing those. I just want to say whatever comes up for you is okay. It really reflects where leadership systems are today. I'm going to yell probably for a minute. And it goes on to say who we think should lead. So there are some amazing things. So, experts, hands-on, perspective, smart, peer support, creative, these are amazing, growth. Oh, that's much better for me. I'm a walker.
Hello?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, thank you.
We have some more.
So, when I used to hear the words lived experience leadership, these are some of the words that I thought about myself. So, judged, discouraged, incapable, impossible, stagnant, looked down upon. And, you know, when I spent years being judged or dismissed and underestimated, it's really hard to picture yourself in a leadership role. For a long time, I felt like my past disqualified me. Now, I understand that it actually prepared me. It gave me empathy, resilience, and understanding. Back then, I did not see a leader, and I definitely didn't think that I was going to be in such a powerful role. Powerful. Degrees, titles, or the right kind of past. That's who I thought could lead. But over time, something changed. So, now, when I hear the words lived experience leadership, I see things like courage, strength, growth, empathy, hope. And when I stopped hiding my past and started using it to connect and lead, that's when real change happens. The language that we use for peer support and lived experience people is so powerful. It shapes not only how others see us, but how we see ourselves. When I carried words like useless or incapable, I stayed small. But when leaders like Jamie started calling me capable, trusted, and ready, it shifted something inside of me. Now, I try to do the same for others. When I see someone doubting themselves, I remind them that their story has power. The words that we use can limit people, or they can lift them up. When we change the language around leadership, we change what's possible. If you're already in a leadership role, your belief can be the spark that changes everything. Imagine what could happen if every shelter, every agency, and every organization believed that people with lived experience are not liabilities, they're leaders. And they're leaders in waiting. People who already understand resilience, compassion, and survival, the exact qualities that leadership people should have. I hope that the words like capable, essential, inspiring, and strong, because that's when I look at people with lived experience. And it's time our systems started to see that too. Your words matter. So these are some of the lessons that I've learned in my time of being at the Salvation Army for the last 8 years. So first one is building trust through shared experience. For many of the people we serve, trust does not come easily. It has to be earned with consistency, action, and understanding of what it's like to be going through the system. When I share parts of my lived experience in the right way, at the right time, it changes the relationship with my clients. It builds a bridge of honesty and understanding, and over time, the approach has changed how the clients not just see me, but our whole team. When people feel seen and believed, they start to show up differently, and that's when the real growth begins, with us and with them. Number 2 is consistency. Consistency, boundaries, and transparency. Boundaries have been just as important as trust, so they protect both us and the people we support. I've learned to only share what helps the client and not what helps me feel understood in that moment. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is hold space and listen, and healthy boundaries keep the focus on the client's needs and protect our own emotional well-being. Transparency plays a huge role in that too, and I've learned that leadership, especially lived experience leadership, is not about being perfect. It's about being honest and open, and our team talks openly about what went well, what didn't, and how we can do better next time. That honesty brings respect and keeps us strong as a team. We take care of each other, we check in often, and encourage balance. Because when we look after ourselves, we take better care of others. Learning, so growth through innovation. When you live through systems, you see what doesn't work, and that gives you a unique lens of what could. I try to approach every challenge with curiosity, and I always ask, how can we make this better? I'm also a big question asker, and they hate me in staff meetings, okay? So, again with the questions, Bethany. So that meant prioritizing ongoing training. So we created a frontline staff training manual, which we didn't have before. We did things like de-escalation, harm reduction, cultural safety, trauma-informed care, and always bringing new ideas for the table. For me, innovation is not about big, flashy changes. It's about small, practical steps, making things safer and more inclusive for everybody, clients and staff. For example, when I noticed we had a lot more seniors and clients with mobility challenges coming to our shelter, I started looking for better ways to support them. I was arranging walker and cane donations, as well as helping them get mobility scooters. I completed a certificate with working in seniors and shelters, and I advocated for accessible bathroom upgrades and building relationships with agencies such as Home Health, which we had zero relationship with before in our shelter. I also saw that clients with mobility issues often fell through the cracks and maybe not needing hospital care, but were unable to safely stay in a shelter. From there, I worked with management to reorganize an office into a private functional space for healthcare. a small change that made a huge difference to how our supported clients felt. Beyond that, I joined a safety committee and became a Narcan trainer to make sure that both staff and clients are equipped to respond safely. Small steps, but huge results. All of this is about creating pathways to where there weren't any before. We were listening to clients, adapting, and using lived experience as a tool for me. All of these lessons, trust, listening, growing relationships, and continuous learning came together in one project that I'm very proud of. I'm sorry, I had pneumonia a week ago, so I'm really sorry if my voice is shaky. I'm also nervous. Ta-da, this is our accessible washroom, which was just a toilet before. So we had no grab bars, no seats. We had no way of anyone with mobility challenges basically getting hygiene in our shelter. And unfortunately, we had a hygiene policy. So this might not look like much at first, but for our clients, it was very life-changing. So clients with mobility challenges or medical needs were often turned away for being out of our scope of care, sent to the hospital very unnecessarily, or left to manage on their own while trying to navigate complex health challenges on top of their homelessness. Home health would not step foot in our shelter because we didn't have a proper space for our clients to even receive care. By listening to clients and advocating with management, we were able to bring their needs forward, talk to our executive director very sweetly, and make this space a reality. So now, this space provides dignity and safety where clients can receive wound care, licensed scabies treatments, and other medical support right where they reside. This allows healthcare professionals to meet with clients on site, eliminating a lot of unnecessary hospital visits, as well as preventing care from otherwise being given on our sidewalk or in our parking lot. What this project really demonstrates is that leadership is about creating connections between staff and clients, community partners, and lived experience leaders. It reminds us that small, thoughtful actions, guided by simple acts of listening, can transform someone's experience in our shelter and also keep a roof over their head. Sorry. So I knew I needed to be part of a solution and level up even more. So I tried to find ways to sit at any tables that decisions were being made. I was part of coordinated access teams, housing clients, frontline agencies to help in our community, safety committees, and lots of healthcare meetings. We didn't have a great relationship with Fraser Health at first, but we made them like us. My goal was simple. Make sure that our clients' voices are heard and their needs are represented in every conversation. We focused on bridging gaps between hospitals, mental health programs, Service Canada, and immigration services, as we saw a high need for that. We had correction teams and psychiatric jails, youth programs, many treatment centers, and public guardianship programs for our clients, and we also partnered with our local police fraud team to come in and do presentations for our staff as well as our clients, as we saw a huge rise in seniors getting scammed in our shelter. We also connected with vets, pet stores, SPCA staff to do presentations, as well as humane societies to support clients with pets. I also, sorry to our ED for spending more money, I got kennels, muzzles, cat, dog food. We also had tarantulas at some point. We've had rats, birds, all of that stuff. So the biggest thing for me was making sure that our clients didn't have to choose housing or their pets, housing or outside because of wound care or anything like that. We also started hosting monthly or every second month tax clinics. So now they are running in shelters all across BC. We also help lead our sober living program, which is connected to our shelter as well. Collaboration with other agencies, keep care consistent, transition smoother, and support more connected clients. When challenges come up, I always ask, what would make this easier for staff, but safer for clients? That mindset helps us find practical, person-centered solutions and keeps our advocacy grounded in real change. Every table that I sit at and every connection we build, every improvement we make helps move a system towards compassion and inclusion and dignity. So, show of hands, how many of you currently work alongside someone with lived experience that are in a leadership role? Wow, amazing. That's awesome. Awesome. That's really great. Okay, so now I want to introduce you to someone who has not only key witnessed that kind of leadership, but also played a big role in supporting it and uplifting it. Please welcome my supervisor and my mentor, Jamie Dembowski.
Yeah, fun. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me good? Is this good? All right. Thank you, Beth. Before we get started, I want you to take a few moments to share with those sitting nearby of a time when someone's personal experience taught you more than any textbook ever could. Sorry, it gets me a little choked up talking about this. Just share next to you an experience that's taught you more than any textbook ever could and what made that powerful. I'll just give you guys a few minutes. I see a lot of laughter and smiles, and that's really awesome to see. That moment that you just shared, that's the kind of impact that sticks with you, shapes how you show up, and reminds you why you do what you do. I'm incredibly blessed to stand beside the very person who's done that for me, someone whose presence, perspective, and experience have taught me more than any textbook, email, meeting, or training ever could. And today, I invite you to lean in with that same openness, because the most powerful learning doesn't come from information, it comes from connection. I truly believe that the best learning we do is when we learn from others.
Sorry.
Oh, back one.
Sorry.
So I've been with the Salvation Army for 13 years now. Presently, I am the supervisor of the casework team, our transitional housing program, and I also serve as one of the community partner liaisons on behalf of our shelter. As we begin, I want to bring you guys back to the question we've been holding on to throughout this presentation. Can you think of a time when someone's story changed the way that you work? I can, and I'd like to share it with you. In 2018, I was working as a caseworker, and Bethany was working on the front lines in the shelter. She had been away for several months at a treatment program. One afternoon, out of the blue, Bethany walked into my back office area. She was hoping to meet with our manager, but he wasn't in that afternoon. I didn't know she was back from treatment, and I didn't know what to expect when she asked if she could come in. We sat together in my office, and somewhere in that conversation, something shifted inside of me. A quiet realization that I couldn't quite name at the time. Fast forward 1 year later, Bethany was working full-time at our physical distancing shelter, and I was still in casework. We began to collaborate more closely, especially on complex client cases. By 2021, I had stepped into a new role as the shelter supervisor, which also became the hiring supervisor for the casework team. I had a critical position to fill, my former one, and we had several strong applicants. It was a very sought-after role, but only one application stood out. It came from someone who was already showing up as a leader in the workplace, someone who brought insight, empathy, and true expertise, someone who lacked only one thing that I could see, and that was confidence. I'm sure you've guessed by now, that person was Bethany. And watching her grow into this role, and now as my colleague and leader in this space, has continued to shape the way that I lead. Her story didn't just change the way I work, it changed the way I see the work. After just a few months of working together, I found myself more often in the student seat than the teachers. Bethany would approach me with complex situations, and not only would she show up and describe what was going on, but she had already thought through multiple solutions to fix whatever was happening. Her lived experience, paired with her professional approach, was not only impactful, it was deeply valuable for me, to our team, and most importantly, to the people that we serve. During her time as a caseworker, I made sure that we had regular bi-weekly one-on-one meetings. It was during those check-ins that I started to see where she might need some more development. And the biggest thing that stood out again, confidence. I could see all these incredible strengths, the gifts that she naturally carried, her empathy, her perspective, her deep understanding of people. But she wasn't fully leaning into them. I made a solemn vow to myself to bring her into the reflection I saw of her, and when she couldn't see her own brilliance, I would hold up a mirror until she could. If you had told 2021 Bethany that one day she'd be standing up here, delivering a presentation like this, I'm pretty sure she would have laughed and told you not a chance, and yet, here we are. Bethany, the growth you've stepped into hasn't just impacted your own path, it's helping shift the very system that we work in. Without leaders like you, real change wouldn't happen, especially in the spaces where it's needed most. For us, that is back in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, where we're proud to serve our community in the only shelter in the Maple Ridge and Pitt Meadows area, covering a combined population of over 124,000 people. We operate at a full capacity year-round with 55 shelter beds that rested, connected, and supported over 660 individuals in 2024. Over time, I've come to believe that great leadership is defined by many different core qualities, and for me, these are what stand out most. Number one, we must lead with purpose and look for it in others. As current leaders, our job is to model purpose-driven leadership and recognize this in emerging leaders. Number two, motivation isn't optional, it's our duty. Our job is to reach out a hand, not wait for potential leaders to emerge on their own. Motivation can be nurtured, and it's our responsibility to cultivate it in others. Number three, vision is more than strategy. It's belief for a better future. A good leader knows that strategy is how you get there, but vision is why you go. Number four, empathy is power. When someone has seen or felt injustice, inequity, or hardship firsthand, their vision is often rooted in lived truth. Those with lived experiences often bring deep emotional intelligence, a critical leadership asset we should be actively seeking. Number five, creativity isn't just for artists, it's for leaders. We need to cultivate and uplift leaders who think differently, who ask why, and who imagine new solutions.
I ask why a lot.
She does. Number six, team vision is built, not imposed. Leaders with lived experience often naturally center others because they know what it feels like to be left out of the vision. Number seven, the best leaders never stop growing. Purpose evolves as we learn about ourselves and the people we serve. Motivation deepens when we see the impact of our work and when we uplift others to lead. Vision sharpens the more we listen and learn from those with lived experience. Empathy expands as we stay open to new stories, challenges, and truths. And collaboration thrives when we continue to build, not just lead. This means creating space for people who haven't always had access because they bring insights and strengths that can't be taught in a classroom or gained through titles. Our leadership legacy will not be judged solely by what we've achieved, but by who we brought with us. I'm going to buzz through these really quick because we just got the 5-minute warning. Yes? Okay. Okay. So what needs to change? As leaders, it's not simply enough to create policies and procedures in isolation. If we want real change, meaningful, lasting change, we need to center the voices of those with lived experience. People who have lived through homelessness, addiction, and mental health challenges are not just recipients of service. They are the true experts in what works and what doesn't. Their insights are grounded in reality, and they often see the gaps in systems long before the data ever shows up. When we connect people with lived experience directly to policymakers, we not only make better decisions, we build trust, accountability, and systems that meet people where they are. Connection is more than a seat at the table. It's about building real partnerships with leaders who bring lived experience. Too often, these voices are brought in after key decisions have already been made. But true inclusion means involving them from the very beginning, during planning, design, evaluation, and crucially in decision-making. But the connection doesn't happen in a vacuum. To truly center lived experience in leadership, we must first acknowledge the emotional toll that this work takes. Burnout is real, and it's common in high-stress environments. As leaders and allies, we can't just talk about self-care, we have to model it. That means showing what healthy boundaries look like, taking rest seriously, and leading with emotional regulation and transparency. Organizations also have a role to play by building in supports like paid mental health days, flexible schedules, regular debriefing spaces, and room for reflection. Because burnout is rarely a personal failure. It's a systemic signal that we're asking too much without offering enough. And when we understand burnout as systemic, it naturally brings us to a deeper, more compassionate lens, one grounded in trauma-informed leadership. It's important to remember, lived experience doesn't mean the healing journey is over. Many leaders are still navigating their own paths, even as they step into roles that ask them to support others. So what happens when mistakes are made, when someone struggles or hits a wall? Our response matters. Are we leading with judgment, or are we practicing gentle coaching and curiosity? This is where trauma-informed leadership comes in. Managers and supervisors must be trained to recognize trauma responses, to understand potential triggers, and to respond with patience and relational care, not punishment. That brings us to our final piece of training. Training isn't a checkbox. It's a process of ongoing development. Think one-on-one coaching with hands-on training, modeling emotional resilience and boundary setting, facilitation, and teaching navigation of organizational dynamics. Many lived experience leaders have faced barriers to education and leadership, so our approach must be patient, flexible, and strengths-based, building on what emerging leaders already know while supporting them in areas they want to grow. So when we bring all of this together, connection, burnout, trauma-informed care, and training, we begin to build systems that don't just include lived experience leaders, but uplift and sustain them. And that is what real transformation looks like.
There you go. Oh, thank you. This is the vision. So true advocacy does start with people. I have had the chance to mentor a staff with lived experience, a couple, but one person, let's call him T. So he was a new staff. He was also just brand new in recovery. He was very eager to learn. He was always in my office. He was always asking about my caseload. He wanted to learn. He wanted training. He wanted to check in with clients. He basically was my night caseworker for my clients. So together, I worked on boundaries. I did trauma-informed approaches, and I wanted him to recognize the value of his own voice as well as his experience. Over time, he grew confidence, he contributed meaningful to client care, and he also helped support some of our team. Watching him grow reminded me that mentorship is about helping people, not see in themselves what they may not see in themselves. So, the core lesson, when we lead with connection and trust and belief in people, we cultivate teams that are resilient, they are supported, and they're capable. Someone once believed in me, and that's what leadership is. When we lead this way, we empower teams, strengthen client care, and lift the next generation. Also, that was the first picture is me in a methadone clinic. Second is my first time being in a frontline role, and then here we are today. So. As we wrap up today, I just want to bring us back to the heart of all this. So 7 years ago, I could not imagine I would be standing up here. I'm not just surviving anymore, I am leading. What changed wasn't luck, and it was opportunity, and it was people like Jamie and others that believed in me, people that allowed me to go to treatment and didn't just fire me, as well as people who saw leadership where I only saw survival. The belief gave me purpose in myself, and that purpose became my path. Ending homelessness is not just about housing. It's not just about systems or advocating. It's about the people. It's about the people that are receiving services, are wanting to work in this field, anything. And it's about dignity, compassion, and creating spaces where every voice is heard. When we bring those with lived experience into leadership, we bridge gaps. We bridge gaps between policy and reality, and we build teams that lead with empathy, courage, and understanding. My story is one of many, but there are countless others out there who have lived experience and have lived through the systems, and they're ready to lead if given a chance. Our role as leaders is to find them, believe in them, and walk beside them as they rise. Because real change happens when lived experience becomes leadership, and leadership becomes a movement. So, as you go back to your own spaces, I want to challenge you to ask, who's missing from your table? Then, go find them, lead them, and empower them. That's how we build better systems, and that's how we build change that lasts. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jamie and Bethany, for that wonderful presentation, and to all our presenters for two, I think, very different but complementary, and really worked well together, and yeah, showing the value of equipping, supporting, but also learning from and being led by peer leadership and peer support. So that was great. We've got about 20 minutes for questions, and we've got a floating mic. So if anyone has questions, please raise your hand, and we'll have a bit of a chat. Anyone want to start us off? Oh, no, that was a chat.
Don't all bombard us.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
really, it's
the
fine.
The first one is the office.
Oh, there's one over there.
Go there.
I don't know how I feel about a microphone. So my question is about the Block Leader program. So I'd seen an article that you guys posted back in June. So I operate a transitional housing program, and I'm looking at kind of some peer initiatives for some of my occupants. So when you talk about training programs that you do with your block leaders for them to become block leaders, can you tell me what that looks like?
Yeah, great question. So I can't give you all the trainings. I can email you, but so initially we have it's called a new block leader training. There is requirements to sign up. We ask people who are interested. We take 10 on at a time if they are substance users and if they are homeless. So as a block leaders, as I expressed, they decide everything on their own. And one of the regulations that they came up with is that they want everybody to be substance users because that is who they serve. And they want everyone to be homeless. Again, that's who they serve. So as their supervisor, I have to go by what they want. So that's the first training, and that kind of just describes what is the block leader, how do we work within their own community, and what resources is available in the downtown core. The second training they requested is a mandatory training as well, and it's our compassionate communication. It's also a de-escalation training. So that is how do we talk to people who are visibly not doing well. Also, a big common thread is how do we start conversations. We do have people at the beginning who are not substance users, so we have a big group who is refugees, homeless, as well as substance users. So asking them to walk up to people who are sitting outside and asking them to start a conversation and not just your usual, hello, how are you? It has to be an engagement conversation. So we're going beyond that. We're trying to get them connected to resources. So we are trying to get them from being stagnant. So that's our second, and then we have a few others. Yeah.
You guys are asking for the Krabby Patty formula.
I actually have a question about peer support and your first peer support workers. How do you, like, where, it's such a basic question, like, where do you start? Is it like recruitment? Like, is there somebody that, you know, the staff identifies they would be appropriate for the role? So very basic question, just how to get started with that.
Sorry, is that question for us?
It's for, I think it's for the, actually the ladies at the end, more since you guys launched a peer support program, like from top to bottom, no?
Oh,
That was that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think you're talking about when I'm sorry, who am I looking at? Oh, hi. Okay, let me move a little bit. I did mention that I worked for an organization at the beginning of my peer support journey where from top to bottom it was peers. Is that what you're referring to? No, I'm actually You're talking to them. Okay, so it's not for us. It's for you guys.
Sorry, could you ask the question again? I'm so sorry. It sounded like there's.
Honestly, a very basic question, like where did you guys start with embedding peer workers into the organization and then part of, like ultimately part of the workforce, but that initial step, what did that look like?
So I can speak a bit into that. So that starts with us putting out a job posting and doing an interview and getting a good feel for where they're at in their recovery. Typically, we like to see people about a year into their recovery journey, and Bethany was well into that journey when we hired her. And we have several people with lived experience who work for us. Does that kind of answer that? Like, it's just kind of individual, but we're looking for a year.
I was picturing more like you know somebody and tap them on the shoulder because they would see that in them. That's
Right. Yeah.
But it was for you guys, it was just putting it out there for anybody.
For sure. So a big thing that we do is we do like check-ins, and then I also make, like, when I see someone that maybe when I was a frontline, I used to go into the caseworker's office quite a lot, and I would ask questions about clients. And when I see that interest, or if I see somebody that I'm like, wow, you're doing an amazing job, and you have no schooling, this is all through pure lived experience, I like to, take them into my office. And then we also work on stuff like what I did with T. So we worked on a lot of just like one-on-one coaching. And then also with the client's permission, I would bring them into our meetings with the clients, and I would let them shadow me and hear that. And then also, when we see someone, we take them under our wing. It's kind of just like, we don't really have anything set, but we really encourage it, and especially we like to like when we're looking at resumes and all that stuff, we like to interview the people that are in the recovery space or have some sort of lived experience. So hope that answers kind of.
Hello, my question's for the folks from Ottawa. I was just curious with the non-12-step peer recovery program. You said it on the slides, one of the challenges is working from a harm reduction lens versus an abstinence lens. I was just wondering if you could expand on that.
Sorry, where am I looking? Hi, sorry, can you repeat the end of your question? I'm really sorry.
All good. I was just curious if you could expand on the challenge of like a harm reduction versus abstinence-based model.
Of course. So with our program, it is a harm reduction-based approach that we do with everything at Ottawa Intercity Health. So a challenge with that versus an abstinence-based program, can everyone hear me? Yeah? Is honestly how people show up to our groups. There's not really any rule. You don't have to show up abstinent. You don't have to show up sober. You come as you are, and that does present challenges sometimes in groups. And it also speaks to that varying like levels of readiness for change. When someone is not abstinent, maybe they are still using we're still seeing them with the harm reduction approach, but it does show how they show up different on the day-to-day, right? So 1 week that could look different. When people are abstinent, and we do an abstinence-based approach like a lot of these other programs like 12-step and AA, it is a more consistent way that people are showing up, but we're just really be there to meet people where they are. We don't want to push our hopes onto them for their own journey. We want to ask them, what does that support from us look like for you, and where do you want to go? We don't require you to even want to stop using necessarily, right? So that's kind of how we take it.
I'm just going to add, like I mentioned at the beginning of our presentation, we have these brochures here, and it talks all about the Life Process Program. And at the very back, I'm so proud of myself for being like a 1983 baby here, created a QR code that has all the stats of both of our programs for the block leaders as well as the LPP. So if you want to learn more about what the Life Process Program, it's not even about abstinence or anything like that. It's a really unique type of recovery program. It's an at your own pace, 9-module recovery for anything, whether it be substances or you just want to work on a goal of yours. So if you're interested, they're here for your taking.
Hello, can you hear me? Thank you so much for the two wonderful presentations. I wanted to ask, you both kind of talked about lived experience hiring and peer hiring. I'm interested in some of the barriers that exist in certain organizations that may exclude people from lived experience, or may have these strict job requirements in terms of qualifications. So for your organizations, how do you get around that and ensure that people with lived experience are really strongly considered for roles?
Yeah, I can speak a bit into that. So for us, it's important in our job description and our job postings, we request that people have formal training, but we will take people who have an alternate level of experience and training. So we ask for the basic things, like we want to know that you have first aid, naloxone training, and nonviolent crisis intervention. Like those are kind of the basic core things for us. And then beyond that, sometimes somebody's just the right fit. You don't necessarily need to learn things from a textbook in order to work, at least within our shelter space. As long as somebody is coachable and can take direction and be a team player, I think giving somebody a chance with lived experience, it was the best thing I ever did. Bethany is...
And I didn't graduate either. So.
Yeah. Yeah, so, and I knew that she hadn't completed her programming, but she had what it takes, and so many people do, and those are the people that I'm talking about. Like, we have to just recognize that people don't need all of the extras. You can coach them, and you can lead them, you can empower them. It just takes one person believing in them. Her confidence was non-existent, and I just kept pushing her and pushing her and pushing her, and I think that's what it takes, is somebody strong to say, get up. We're doing this, and here we are. I hope that answers your question. Thank you.
I also would not have applied for the position if I didn't have somebody telling me to do it, because when you initially, as somebody that, and as we spoke about, like I had big barriers into education coming out of being in addiction since I was 16 to 22. When all of my friends or peers, they were in university, or they were, making this amount of money every year, and I was living on the streets. So I felt like I was very behind and I couldn't get there, but I had somebody who pushed me. So like Jamie said, you just need that kind of push and confidence, but now look where I'm at. And I'm smarter than some of the bachelor degree people.
So I think that's an excellent question, and coming from a different perspective on that. So in our organization, we actually advertise for people with lived experience. And so that has its pros and cons to that. So we have the safe consumption site, and we hire them on as harm reduction workers. And with that, we do not have any limitations. So people can be coming on in their own experiences with very little time in the recovery. And that means their mental health recovery, their substance recovery, it's not even questioned. So I have seen people do very well, and I have seen people do not good. And it triggers a lot in them. So I think the biggest thing coming into a place where you're dealing with people with complex needs and traumas, even if you see lived experience, I think we do have a lot of people, and I'm speaking from myself as well, that a lot of people coming out of substance use history, we get this complex need, or I get this complex need that I want to save the world, right? That I want to bring everyone to recovery. And then when I see this postage or hiring sign that says lived experience, I'm like, bang, perfect. Like, this is for me. I'm going to save everyone there. I'm going to bring them to the light. And then little do I know that when I get there, I'm taking a lot of their traumas on. So we talked a lot about boundaries, right? A lot of people don't know what their boundaries are when they get into a place like that. So I have really had to learn what those boundaries are, and I saw a lot of people fail at that. So pros and cons.
I will also say that when we hire people with lived experience, a lot of those people, and I will speak from my own experience, you kind of have this very, really limited worldview of what you can accomplish, right? And so maybe earlier in my life, I didn't see, maybe the education piece or all of these qualifications. Like, I didn't think that these were things that I can do. But now in the role that I'm in, and since I've been working within like the lived experience realm, I've been inspired to see more for myself, and I've been able to see more of a bigger picture of what my career trajectory could look like, right? So it can start somewhere, and now I can see myself in the same role as someone who maybe has a master's degree or who hasn't had the same lived experience or come from the same background as myself. It's pushed me to go and further my education. And even within the organization that we work for, we do leadership with lived experience really well. And even seeing some of our leaders currently enrolled in programs to further their education, to kind of open up a bigger network for themselves, has been really inspiring. So even thinking about hiring those people with lived experience and just planting that seed and watch it grow, like we talked about. Watch their perception of themselves grow and expand, and then you will see them in roles like executive director, CEO, XYZ, right? Roles that I would have never seen for myself years and years ago, but I don't know where I will be in 10 years from now, right? So I hope that also answers a part of that question.
I just have a question about peers on a board level. We have, actually our team has more lived experience probably than not, but we also have peers on our board level, and I'm wondering if agencies in Ottawa are doing that as well.
Mm-hmm. I know the very first peer support organization I worked for, our board was made up of largely peers. So I know for us, that is something that we do and see in Ottawa. I don't know if you can speak to that also.
Very limited.
Yeah.
So we're talking about, the organization she was talking about was PSO, Psychiatric Survivors of Ottawa, and it's a whole peer-run organization. Overall, not so much, and that's what we're trying to advocate for, is that if you want people's lived experience in the organization, we're also talking about board members. Yeah. And I saw a hiring process from the Alliance to End Homelessness asking for lived experience. I actually signed up my block leaders to apply for that job. So you'll see a couple of my block leaders.
Hi, my name's Ami. I want to share my story with you and share the I'm a lived experience too, and without the help that I couldn't, with the help that I had, I would not be here. Thanks to the help that you guys had and the staff connection and also organizations today. When I was homeless, I had no way of getting health care. I had no way of getting showing my job and my talent and my education. And when I finally got home after 2 years of living in the hotel, today I'm a school teacher all across Canada. And it really amazes me today teaching these kids art that I love. And the art that I do to them is a way of reconciliation and what I've experienced too. And these are the kids that I'm trying to plan ahead of time not to go through what I gone through. And today I've been trained to become an international teacher, and I still have 2 months or 3 programs to finish. That's my goal, to start teaching art internationally. And if I wasn't home, I would have never been done this. And I'm also very connected to Ottawa people as an Inuk person. I'm born and raised in Baffin Island, but I live in Guelph due to health issues. But Ottawa, I really encourage you to keep going. And there's people out there with good heart. Everyone has a good heart. It's just a matter of being angry. It's just a matter of teaching them how to forget themselves, who they are. We all love them. And homeless people we think we cannot live with, but sometimes we think we cannot live without. We cannot live without the homeless. We cannot live with them. We are so connected to them. You're connected to me. I'm connected to you. Thank you. I did the little
Thank you
dance.
so much.
I'm so proud of you, my friend. Very proud of you. That's so amazing.
That feels like a good note to end on, and we are at time. So thank you so much for our wonderful presenters and for all the great questions. Have a great rest of the day and conference, and thanks for being here, folks.
Thank you.